Well, hello everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Welcome to EFA124 on a Saturday, July 25th. Epigenetics, epigenomes, right? I look back at the office. We're back at the office here, and I don't remember the last time we did the EFA here at the office. And I'm here today, and the reason why I'm here, I looked at some of my previous EFAs, the original one, and just in my face, the size difference in my face. I look at my original EFAs, and then a friend of mine sent me a video, and that video is approximately 2 years, like almost 2 years old. What I looked like 2 years ago in that video is like, wow. So I showed my daughters, my wife at dinner the other night, and they hadn't seen that video in forever. And then my daughter, like, Eva, laughing from the heart. She loves to razz me, and she goes, "Poppy, you were a house, like you were a house, right?" And I looked unhealthy, like that. My previous CFAs, I talk about that, and I'm gonna do a good podcast, and I'll show a couple of different comparisons. Sometime in August, September, that's what I want to do. But when I look at those videos of myself, it's like, wow, I was a house. Like, it's like, wow, right? And then the epigenetics and epigenomes, the reason why I'm talking about that, it's very interesting when I intrinsically went into this lifestyle, right? And I talked about this prior to June 3rd, 2019. I made a choice intrinsically. I knew where I was going with this, and I saw myself. And I had communicated this to a lot of individuals that are close to me, that where I was going, and it's where I'm at. But it's only the beginning of the journey. I've only been a little over a year into this, and I know I got a lifetime of this. And the reason why I got into that is because, and I explained that this previously, is that I looked at individuals that lost 100 plus weight. One of the reasons that they had lost 100 plus weight in pounds and never put it back. I started looking at those individuals, and I never put it back over a period of 10 years, like 20 years lifetime, right? And so why? So all these characteristics, all these little things that I looked at, the people the 6 groups that lived the longest on earth, why? I did it on previous EFAs. I talked about that. Those that lost over 100 pounds and never put it back on, why? I looked at all that. And when you start living this lifestyle, the clarity of the mind and everything that comes with it is really fascinating. And you dig deeper into the rabbit hole, right? You really go deeper, and then you really educate yourself on a lot of things. And because this is a lifestyle, right? But it's a lifetime lifestyle. And it's also our body, our engine, our everything. We know more about our smartphones. Look at my construction cracks phone here. We know more about our smartphones, the operation manual, the whole 9 yards about our smartphone than we know about our own bodies. I'm telling you. Some of you out there know more about the piece of equipment you operate. You know more about your car engine. You know more, like there's women out there that like or men or anybody, they know more about pieces of equipment that they own than they know about their bodies. And the reason I bring this up is because when I started going deep into the rabbit hole and I started getting into that, it's so fascinating, our human body, what we have internally already there. And they've learned more in the last 20 years and even the last 10 years. So in the last 20 years, that they've known for 5,000 plus years. And they say that technology and the latest and latest in technology that we have, and they know more about the human body in the last 20 years and more so in the last 10 years than they say in the last 5,000 years. And when and it's about knowing about the epigenetics and epigenomes. And I'm going to read you something that I posted. I posted the other day on my public page. And I posted it because I was listening to a podcast from the Diet Doctors, a Swedish group, fantastic podcasts. And on there, one of the guests was Lucia Aronica. She's a PhD doctor from Italy. And Italy, they love their carbs, right? And she's a low carb, high protein, low carb, high fat advocate, right? And the lifestyle that I live. Low carb, high fat, good fats, all natural, no processed, no sugar. That's me, right? So Lucia in there, she talked about the epigenetics, and she was describing it. Go to that podcast. I believe it's podcast number 50, with Lucia, Lucia, Aronica, Aronica, PhD. So she's talking about epigenetics. And epigenetics, she talked about what are epigenetics, right? The epigenetics is basically it's about our cells and the proteins and how like activate or inactivate. Determines the functions of our cells, like how we form inside. And what they do know about this, and go, I'm not a doctor, so go to these episodes and listen to them. And what they do know is that the environment, our lifestyle, the way we eat, etc., pollution, all affects us. All affects how we live. And if you look at my previous EFAs where I talked about all this money we spend on all these antiviruses and virus that and all this and all that, one of the top 4 killers on earth, right? Remember the top 4 killers? And it's all tied to environment, pollution, right? Like the water. Water is one of the biggest killers on earth of human beings, right? But your environment, what you're subjected to, pollution, lifestyle, the way we eat, that's basically top killers on earth. And the people that live the longest, I talked about that, and one of them was like they remove stress out of their lives, and the way they eat, they fast naturally, et cetera, et cetera. My sister, who's had 4 cancers, I always hear her saying, I can't have stress in my life. I got to remove stress in my life because my doctor says stress is one of the number 1 killers of cancer, right? Listen to this, right? Epigenetics, epigenomes is inside your body, right? This is a process that goes on in our human DNA. And in there, she talks about lifestyle, exercise, and emotions. Those 3 things, they know: lifestyles, exercise, and emotion. Those 3 things, the lifestyle, that's your environment, that's the way you eat, that's what you subject yourself to, the whole 9 yard lifestyle. And then exercise, right? Your cardio function, your weight resistance type things, and emotions, okay? Stress, love, hate, all that stuff, emotions, right? All that they know for a fact now that affects are all biological information on your health, which is a book in progress. Meaning, as we age, there's a natural process that we're going to age at. They can take identical twins and they grow, and as they get older, what happens is they're subjected to different environment, different pollutions, different everything. Identical twins, identical DNA, identical everything. And then they as they age, what they're subjected to, environment, pollution, diet, everything, exercise, all that stuff, one of them by 52, 55 will have the heart issues, the lung issues, the illness issues, right? All the illness issues, and the other one doesn't because of what they subjected themselves to. So lifestyle, exercise, emotions are all biological information on your health, which is a book in progress, right? And that's what she wrote. So, and then you look at all the what is it, successability to diseases. It talks about, like, if you look at the lifestyle that I live, the intermittent fasting lifestyle, the Jean-Guy lifestyle, where I fast 6 days a week. I'm OMAD, 1 meal a day. So I basically fast 23 hours a day, every day, except for Sundays. And do I throw a meal in sometimes? But I had one the other day. Yeah, it happens, right? But my 16 hours, and that's I tell people, the minimum is 16 hours, even though I average 23. Your minimum should be 16. Those little things, and no processed food. If it doesn't come from the earth, I don't want it. I talked about that. Or no sugars. I try to cut all sugars whatsoever, and all my desserts, everything is natural. So people talked about ketos. People talk about all these things, and I tell people, all it is, we're eating pre-1950. You're eating like your grandmother, you're known like grandma, like you're eating like they used to cook, but with today's education, right? Knowing what I know. So when you remove stresses out of your life, when you remove toxins out of your life, when you start eating good food and natural food, and you start removing sugars and processes, and you fast for at least 16 hours every day, and all these things proven, like these are things, there's people out there with stage 4 cancers, there's whole podcasts on that the cancer disappeared and dissipated, right? Like my medical conditions, and I've done previous podcasts on that, have disappeared or dissipated, right? Suddenly they disappear. It's like all these things that were like, once you see the video comparison of what I used to look like and what I look like today, mind-boggling, right? I look so unhealthy. Like I look so unhealthy, and all those medical conditions that came with this 350-pound person here, like they're dissipating, like they're literally dissipating, and it's mind-boggling, but it's not unknown because there's so much information out there on there, so many podcasts, so many doctors, so many PhD. There's individuals out there that went against their own sisterhood and brotherhoods and their own colleges, that kind of stuff. And they were the experimenter. They were just like the people with cannabinoid therapy, right? The same people that did what they did with cannabinoid therapy have done the same thing in the last 20 years with our bodies, with our DNAs, with our epigenetics and epigenomes. And that's what they started looking at it. So look at those keywords. There's some great videos on there. I'm gonna put some on my public page. I'll put a couple of good ones out there, really self-explanatory ones, and how the body works and how you can completely eliminate diseases. Right? You could completely eliminate, like, if you live this lifestyle, you can live your 100 years healthy and strong, right? And so imagine that. Imagine when you pass away, you pass away, right? But imagine living all those years healthy and strong, right? In your 80s and 90s, and people do it. You talk to people, it's because they apply these practices. If you were to look at their lifestyle, a lot of them, they apply a lot of these practices. So I'm gonna whiteboard them all these practices on a whiteboard that you can see. My last podcast I did with a whiteboard, I can see it clearly. With the lighting, I don't know, you guys can see it hardly, but I'll white point a lot of the lifestyle changes I've done, and key things that I know are becoming ingrained as a lifestyle after my year, and it ties into all this. So take a moment, and I'll post some videos and look at it on the epigenetics and the epigenomes, and I'll put a couple of them that are very, very interesting, and I'll even add the other podcast from the diet doctors, that number 50. That's another great one. Jean-Guy Bourguignon, EFA124. It's our duty to teach. And I'm just at the office today, and I'm doing that because if you look at my original podcasts, and they started, I think, was it March, those original podcasts, and I did a couple of them before that. If you look at those podcasts, and that's just like 6 months ago, 5 months ago, and look at that, and you see the ones that from a year ago and a year and a half ago, mind-boggling difference, big difference, but it's the unhealthiness that I find is different. Jean-Guy Bourguignon, EFA124.